This course is sponsored by the National Veterans Intermediary, an initiative of the Bob Woodruff Foundation. We'd like to thank the National Veterans Intermediary for their generosity in making this course possible.
Hi, I'm retired Colonel John Tien, a 24-year veteran of the U.S. Army with 3 combat tours in Iraq. My military and civilian careers have taken me on a rare trajectory through the public, private, and independent sectors. I've worked at the White House as a senior national security advisor on the National Security Council staff. I'm a managing director for a Fortune 500 company and one of the world's largest financial services institutions, Citigroup. And I also am a leader and volunteer with several national and local veteran nonprofits. In every role, from the military to the civilian sector, I've relied on data for decision making. As a collaborative leader, you play an important role in building a data strategy to support your work in the community. Joining me today is Rhi from National Veterans Intermediary, who will share insights on implementing data strategies.
Hi, I'm Rhi. I'm the Communications Manager at NVI and a 7-year veteran of the United States Air Force. I'm excited to join Colonel Tien to share what we learned in developing our data strategy so that you can leverage those lessons in your work at the local level.
How can collaborators working in the veteran space make sure their hard work is focused for greatest impact? Data, that's how. Data helps us work smarter, not just harder. This course looks to explore a few ways you can design and implement a smart data strategy in your community. By the end of this course, you'll be able to articulate the importance of data in a collaborative effort, use new tactics for developing a data strategy that meets your collaborative's needs, and strengthen the partnerships required for an effective shared data strategy. Collaboratives form where an issue is too complex for any one organization to tackle. In the veteran space, the work is especially complex. Instead of addressing a single issue like literacy or hunger, which is challenging enough, veteran collaboratives work to meet the many interconnected and diverse needs of veterans and their families. Data can inform collaboratives' allocation of energy and resources based on the actual needs of those they serve. If the data reveal a particular need that the collaborative can't meet, its leaders can seek out a community partner with the capacity, competence, and subject matter expertise to help. Let's think about an example. A collaborative that knows 70% of their population lives in highly rural areas with limited access to a VA facility can use that knowledge to inform how they reach and support those veterans. They can then work with public officials and potentially private providers to solve the transportation challenges some of those veterans will face using real numbers to make the case for investment. So how does the collaborative get started? First, answer a few questions. Number 1, what do you want to learn? Figure out what it is you need to know and would like to know. What can you learn from the members of your collaborative? What can you learn about the population you serve? Do your collaborators already have some of this data? You might be surprised by what you can learn by pooling the information your partners already have available. It might be helpful to note which data sources are available and accessible, which are available but not yet accessible, and those which do not exist yet. Remember that data can be formal, like case studies, surveys, and tracked outcomes, or informal, like anecdotal evidence from case managers about the unmet needs among veterans they serve. Number 2, how will you collect data that you don't have? Once you've compared notes on existing data, you can identify gaps between what you want to know and what data you're already collecting. Together with your partners, you can brainstorm the most effective way to collect the missing data going forward. Once you're clear on what you want to learn, what data is out there, and how you'll collect missing data, it's time to set some goals. Consider how you want to use the data that you collect. Do you want the data to inform decisions about services? Pursue funding for a particular project? After you've defined your purpose and goals, identify key indicators that illustrate the needs and outcomes you want to track. These key indicators make up the data points that you'll be tracking. Next, you'll assess the best way to gather, collate, and process the data. Will you ask all partners to report data on a regular basis? Will you invest in a shared data system to populate directly? Once you've collected the data, it needs to be interpreted to have meaning. Will you meet as a collaborative to review the data or start a data working group? Or will your backbone organization interpret and share the data? Importantly, is the work you are committing to do practical, given the resources you have available? It's always a better idea to collect a small amount of data well and reliably than to ask lots of questions that you may not have the capacity to interpret and leverage for impact in the lives of veterans later on. Let's see how those steps played out for NVI.
At NVI, we started with what we already knew, that there are hundreds of collaboratives working at the local level across the nation to support veteran well-being. We didn't know who comprised the membership of those groups, how were they working together and with other community stakeholders, and what their needs were, whether in terms of service to veterans or of building the organizational capacity of the collaboratives themselves. Our first survey sought to answer these questions. As we pored over responses and analyzed data, we realized two things. One, several of our local partners struggled with answering our questions. That in itself was data. It told us in some cases that there was not a shared vocabulary for collaboration. In other cases, it told us that there was a wide disparity in how much access communities had to information about their veteran population. Two, we might not be asking the right questions the right way. To build a tool that provided reliable data and helped communities benchmark their collaborative capacity, we'd have to ask different questions. So we turned to the experts at RAND, a respected global policy think tank, to help us work out what we should be asking, what we should be learning, and how. NVI's data strategy was developed with these goals in mind. Benchmark communities' progress as they go through our program, develop programming that is responsive to community needs, and fill a gap in data about the role of collaboration in the veterans ecosystem. NVI tracks indicators of collaborative capacity, including factors like the number and diversity of collaborators, whether they've established a backbone and governance, and the processes and technologies they use to share data. In our case, we ask communities to participate in a benchmarking assessment and an annual follow-on assessment. In terms of managing the information we collect, we use Salesforce, a constituent relationship management system, to store, organize, and segment the data. Salesforce is a secure system, although since we're not handling sensitive personal data, it's less of a concern. To interpret the data from our local partner self-assessment tool, we turn to the data scientists at RAND, and Dr. Meg Harrell, a social scientist and the Chief Program Officer of BWF's Charitable Investments Program. Together, they helped us refine an algorithm that considers the key indicators we defined and measures a community's collaborative capacity. We configured Salesforce so that our communities can enter their responses directly into the database, eliminating the need for separate input. We also set up queries that allow us to pull data for regular reporting to our local and national partners, ecosystem stakeholders, and funders.
Tracking outcomes of the programs and services we provide allows us to evaluate and either double down or pivot. First and foremost, we want to see improvement for veterans in our communities, and data tells us what's working and what's not. Second, our stakeholders are invested in our results, so we need to be able to articulate those results. Our donors also want to see how their money is making a difference. Lastly, funders are increasingly likely to invest in nonprofits with strong community partnerships. Data can illustrate the efficacy of these engagements. It's important to note that the outputs and outcomes that data can track and that we report to our communities and investors are different. We'll talk more about this later.
Data can also illustrate how well your collaborative systems are working. You can benchmark and track performance, for example, throughput and wait times for services. With the right data, collaboratives can also measure their capacity to collaborate. NVI's Local Partner Self-Assessment Tool, or LPSAT, helps communities understand their strengths and challenges in collaborating, and lets NVI know what type of support community-based collaboratives need to do what they do best. Data technology options vary, from off-the-shelf free and affordable solutions, to purpose-built software, to fully customizable enterprise constituent relationship management solutions. Off-the-shelf software can offer less flexibility than customized software, but is a low input cost option. Purpose-built software like case management systems cost more in money and time at adoption, but are capable of easing the manual burden of reporting in many cases. Enterprise solutions are the most costly, and while they're customizable, they end up being fairly inflexible once the investment is made. The right choice for you depends on your collaborative's maturity and budget. See the notes section below this video for links of resources to explore. Combined Arms in Houston, Texas, one of NVI's local partners, developed a hybrid solution for their collaborative. They leveraged Salesforce, an enterprise constituent relationship management system, and custom-built an intake tool that integrates with the system to analyze data in a way that's useful to the collaborative. With this customized solution, Combined Arms can assess both the white space in programming, need areas where veterans' needs are not being met, and also track the connections local veterans are making with the service organizations that are part of the Combined Arms collaborative.
No matter how high-tech the software, there are still common pitfalls with measuring collaborative work. If partners don't participate actively, your data set could be missing important information. Also, unless all partners share a coordinated entry system, it's nearly impossible to track unduplicated services. Securing buy-in and maintaining relationships are paramount. Successfully planning and executing a collaborative data strategy requires close and active partnership among stakeholders. Some communities formalize partnerships with MOUs that include requirements for data collection, contribution, and reporting. Whether you have formal or informal agreements in place, someone in your collaborative will need to be responsible for accountability and follow-up. In addition to partnering within your collaborative, you may choose to bring in a technical partner to help build your strategy, teach members best practices in collection and reporting, display your data, and report the findings.
NVI's 2019 partnership with the RAND Corporation is an example. As a reminder, RAND helped NVI consider if we were asking the right questions to assess both organizational and community characteristics and collective impact in veteran-focused collaboratives, and guided us through a beta test of our data collection tool before launch. We wanted to make sure it's easy to use and applicable at all levels of collective impact maturity. In your community, you may find similar data partners in universities, nonprofits, and private research or technology firms. Don't be afraid to reach out to them for pro bono support.
Implementing a data strategy successfully relies on buy-in from all who'll be asked to participate. It is important to understand members' motivations and think creatively about how the collaborative's members can help one another meet their goals. If members can see a clear benefit to participating, it will be easier to engage them as active contributors. It's also crucial to design tools and systems that are simple and easily incorporated into your membership's workflows. Think about the practicality of the administrative burden. If the burden for data entry is too high or the reporting criteria too complex, participants may not fully adopt the process or use systems inconsistently. For example, if members don't understand the terminology used in a data tool, that can be a blocker. If you require collaborators to fill out a printed form and scan it, you create a data entry choke point. If collaborators can't access a web-based tool due to their organization's internet policies, you've got a roadblock. Another important aspect of ensuring participation in the implementation of your data strategy: share the data you collect. This works to keep members and stakeholders alike engaged. Your members will see the fruits of their collaborative contributions and be able to use the data to plan data-informed programming. Stakeholders will see both your progress and the urgency of outstanding unmet needs. Establish a regular schedule for internal data distribution as well as an external reporting schedule. For example, will you distribute your shared data through a quarterly email? A thoughtful data strategy can build a strong feedback loop between your collaborative and the community, especially those you serve. The whole purpose is to learn, adapt, and improve. Are you ready to dig into your data work?
National Veterans Intermediary increases the collaborative capacity of local communities to improve well-being for veterans and their families. Visit nvi.org for more information and tools on implementing collective impact principles in your community.
If you have any questions or need assistance, go to the PsychArmor website or call the PsychArmor support line at 844-779-2427. Thank you for completing this course and taking that one step further in learning about our American veterans.